Hi everyone. We are opening the waiting room right now, so I'll give it just a couple of seconds while everyone joins. Here you can see Jonathan ready to blow you away with our first session. So we're just gonna give it a few more seconds while everyone is joining. Okay, so we are very happy to be starting the spring session of our teacher development course. And for the very first session, we have Jonathan Shoobridge, the Director of Studies in EF London. Jonathan did also a session in our fall series, and it was by far the most popular. So we are very excited to have him back, and we hope you enjoy. So up to you, Jonathan.
Thank you very much. And that's very kind of you. So yes, my name is Jonathan Shoobridge. Hello, everybody. It's wonderful to see you. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to me yap about AI for an hour. My main aim is to get you thinking a little bit more about AI, thinking about using AI, at least for the odd kind of job in your lives, and just to try to make your lives a little bit easier. And then at the end of this presentation, I would like to discuss the ethical concerns that you may have for AI and for us to set out a plan for if we can get AI into our everyday lives. So before we start, a little bit about me. I'm the Senior Director of Studies for London. I have also been lucky enough to recently take over
Не можна,
um,
значить, як
the. Could you
ІЗЕ,
mute yourself?
ІЗЕ.
Sorry.
Ти кажи сам просто писати.
Let me just
ІЗЕ
mute
або
everybody.
АЗЕН, і потім давати зразу.
I'm working. I've worked in Kazakhstan. I've worked in Brazil, doing teacher training sessions just like these. And I think probably the most important part of me being here is that I am an AI skeptic, believe it or not. Despite me doing 2 hour long presentations on I am an AI skeptic, believe it or not. I do not take much on face value. I always research what I'm using. I'm also always suspicious of news stories and how AI is going to replace everybody. And to be perfectly honest, a lot of what AI does make me slightly uncomfortable. So you know that what I'm saying comes from a a genuine position to try to help teachers. I'm not here to tell you that AI needs to replace everything we do. I'm here to kind of preach the word of AI being here to support us. Now, I see a couple of people with your cameras there where that you may have been here with me last time round. Now, my objectives for this presentation is to not give you the same presentation because you've come back for a second time to visit me. So I'm going to first review all of the things that we went over last time, which was in the full presentation, just to re-establish some of the key uses that we learned from last time so that we are all on the same ground. We've all got the same foundations. And then from there, we'll discuss some more of the emerging AI trends. We'll discuss some of the moral considerations, and we'll do some more live demonstrations. Some of the feedback that I got from our last presentation that you loved the AI demonstrations. You loved how I looked really worried whenever I was using it because I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but it did, thankfully. So I figured I could bring some more risk into this presentation and show you a bit more of AI in action that you can hopefully use in your everyday lives. But before then, in the Zoom chat, how has AI evolved since you first heard of it? So tell me in the Zoom chat, please. I'm not going to be the only one doing all the talking. Type away. Tell me. It's very fast. Yes, absolutely. It's tremendously. Yes, absolutely. It has done. I cannot believe what it can do. A drastic change. Cool. I can really tell you're all English teachers. Very nice. It's getting smarter. It's alarmingly smarter. Absolutely. Yes. Facilitates teaching, Sonia. Very nice. Absolutely. It's helpful. It's amazing. It's fast. Okay. Yes, it can speak now, which is a bit spooky, which is why I chose this picture, which may be familiar to some of you. It's helpful. It's hallucinating now. That's very interesting. We'll talk about hallucinations, well, AI hallucinations later down the line. Absolutely. It's a bit scary for sure. All of this is very valid. Now, one person's mentioned there that it's overestimated by many. So thank you very much for mentioning that. It's like you've read my plan for this presentation. So let's think a little bit then versus now. So then we were looking at AI to solve problems with mathematical theorems, and it could kind of mimic some form of human reasoning. Now, what we originally set out for it to do was to solve puzzles. I'm sure everyone's familiar with the very early iterations of AI where it could play chess really well and it could beat a great chess grandmaster, and everyone thought that was incredible back then. But now we seem to be we seem to be aiming higher and higher. So now we're thinking about simulating human reasoning and using data-driven learning. So all of a sudden, it's no longer something that is programmed to do something, it's something that can learn to do something itself, and it's become autonomous in doing so. So we've gone from almost one thing that is built for a specific purpose into something that is built for all purposes. So this multifaceted thing. Now, one thing that may be interesting to us is understanding and generating human language here. So a lot of what we're going to be looking at today is how we could exploit that area of AI to help us in our everyday lives. And of course, to interpret video and speech, which I will show you how to do later down the line as well. We'll be watching a truly terrifying YouTube video, not terrifying in, the traditional sense, but as a teacher, a terrifying video about AI. And we'll be looking at interpreting that with the help of AI. Now, I've prepared a short quiz for you. Now, in the Zoom chat, if you could, tell me, does it use AI? I have 3 questions for you and no prizes. So, number 1, a translation app like Google Translate converts spoken English into Arabic in real time. Do you think A, yes, it does use AI? B, no, it doesn't. Vote now. I'll give you 10 seconds. Okay, the A's have it ever so slightly. We've got some no's. Okay, thank you for being very brave, everybody. Very nice. With all of these quizzes, please do chuck your answers into the Zoom chat. I love it when everyone's contributing. So for this one, we are looking at yes. Now, why are we looking at yes? Is because we're looking at converting this in real time. So rather like maybe the traditional version of Google Translate I think we all remember when Google Translate was maybe on an iPhone 3 and it used to translate exact words, so it produced jargon and produced things that just really didn't connect. Well, now we have an AI powers Google Translate that will be able to pick up on elements of tone. It will be able to pick up with contextual elements as well and make these decisions in real time. Nice. Next quiz question. Does it use AI? A grammar checker highlights spelling mistakes using a dictionary and rules. I fear I may have just given you this answer. Vote now. We've got yeses, we've got no's, we've got yeses, no's, no's. I think this one's yeses have it ever so slightly. Now, in terms of this one, I have gone for no. But John, why? So, according to AI itself, this quiz was created with the help of ChatGPT. So it is, of course, um, the source of the foundation of all knowledge for AI. It would be yes if it were to analyze the meaning as an extra dimension to check your grammar. If it's just using a dictionary and directly translating vocabulary and grammar, then no. And then finally, it won't tell on itself. Thank you very Maria, you're absolutely right. So we take all this with a tongue in our cheeks. Yes, absolutely. And the last one, a GPS navigation system shows your location on a map using satellite signals. What do we think? A or B? Oh, we got no's. It feels like people have wisened up to ChatGPT's tricks. Let's see. The no's have it. Do the no have it? ChatGPT? Yes, no, exactly. You saw through its plan there. It would be yes if the system were to create routes. Now, off of this quiz, we've got a couple of things we can draw from these responses and these questions. Now, AI is not everything, despite what people want you to believe. Now, people want you to believe that, Google Maps was nothing before AI or translators would never work with AI. But of course, these things were around before AI and still function without AI, just they're not quite as optimized. So in these cases, I like to think of AI as adding value to something that always exists. Now, that's how I want to say help. This is how I sleep at night, but this is what I use to justify usage of AI in my school. Is that teaching and our teaching theory always existed before AI, and now we're just adding extra value on top. We're not looking to replace. We're not looking to um, change. We're looking to add extra value. And of course, you're still the decision maker in this process, which we'll get into later as well. So, if AI is used to add extra value to things that already exist, in the Zoom chat, just very quickly, I'll give you 1.5 minutes, a very generous 1.5 minutes. Just let me know your thoughts. What things in teaching could it add value to that you're aware of? And what could it bring more value? How could it bring more value to those things? Apologies, I've had a long day. Lesson plans. Yes. Tell me more about lesson plans. And marking papers. Absolutely. Those time consuming things. Absolutely. But how does it help you to help you with your lesson plans? How does it help you to evaluate essays? Tell me. It could bring up innovative ideas in teaching that wouldn't have thought. So Mohammed's gone for a personal development route there, Mohammed. Really nice. So of course it's very learned, supposedly. It's had access to tons of information that arguably, it's if it's learned and given credit to those people that it's learned from, that's a bit of an ambiguous one. But yes, you can use it to strengthen your own development skills because you're exposed to teaching ideologies that you wouldn't have been exposed to before. That's really nice. We got vocabulary and instant questions as well. Absolutely. That's obviously being able to feed a vocabulary list into it and say, hey, do this is really helpful for sure. Exercise generation, we'll look a little bit at that. And we've got some brainstorming of essays for sure. Differentiation, yes. Ferus, differentiation's an important one. We'll be looking at that later down the line too. Wonderful. And we've got a lot of instant feedback, adapting activities, speed presentation. Sounds like a superpower. Absolutely. Personalization. Well done, everyone. Lots of good stuff here. So during this presentation, I hope to cover a lot of that. So if you've seen something in that chat that you think, wow, I wasn't sure that it could do that, or yeah, that sounds like it could be a valid kind of thing for me to start using. My hope is that by the end of this presentation, you will at least be able to bring one of those things to life. Now, as promised, I said that we would summarize our previous session so that we're all on the same foundation. So we'll look through some of the theories we discussed. We'll look through some of the tools that we used, and we'll look through some of the teaching best practice we discussed. So I'll fly through this in the next 20 or so minutes, and so that we have plenty of time for new practical advice. So using using AI in general, of course, there are other chatbots outside of ChatGPT, for example, DeepSeek. We have it relieves the creativity burden from a teacher. So you've all been tired when you've come home from work, or you've all just got no time at all. It relieves that burden from you, and it gives you access to more materials, more techniques that you may not have thought of yourself. So again, we're looking at adding value. We're not looking at replacing anything. Time saver. I saw that all the way through the Zoom chat just there. Absolutely, it saves time. And differentiation, so being able to reformulate things rather than having to painstakingly rewrite a story or to create content that I'm sure you, like myself, have had to do in the past, is now a thing of the past. Of course, you may choose to do it for the love of the game sometimes, but now it's no longer an obligation. It's more something that you can do as a passion project. We went through DeepSeek and we looked through how you could use it for lesson design. So I told it to create a dynamic lesson geared towards 11-year-olds that teaches the past simple through the context of Halloween. If you remember all that time back in November when we were doing this, I even chucked in a typo there for you, and it produced a nice lesson plan. It produced a clear step-by-step plan. It generated a nice context for you, so you didn't have to think about how you would crowbar Halloween vocabulary into something. And it is, of course, well read in ESL teaching theory generally. I say generally because, of course, we'll need to look at why we can't fully trust it later down the line. But it knows how to scaffold a lesson. And then, of course, you can adapt it from one stage, if you don't like a stage, to another stage. So make stage 4 less teacher-centric. So we went from essentially a teacher going around the class and making sure students produced pieces of vocabulary to a group task where students would essentially drive the task themselves. And then we went through some teacher tools. We went through assessment creation, and we went through differentiation. We went through Wayground and Curipod. So just so that we are all on the same page with this one. If anyone's heard of Wayground and Curipod, Wayground, I said, was almost like an AI-driven Kahoot, where you could get an AI to essentially proof or add value to quizzes that you have written. So for example, we have regular past tense verbs. If I want to use the regular past tense verbs here, you've got the multiple choice from Alicia Deal. Thank you very much, Alicia Deal. And the AI is there to add extra value. So for example, it's picked up I'm in the UK. So its suggestion for me is I may want to localize some things. So it thinks about things in a different way, and it would also allow you to localize things rather than going through and, I don't know, having to change the dates from the US to the UK system or what have you. It will do that for you, which is very nice. And this Wayground system will also produce a quiz for you if you want it to. My recommendation, however, is to check its work. Now, we'll get on to best practice for checking work later down the line, which you may have heard of the 80-20 rule, 80% AI, 20% checking yourself. And we'll look into that in a little bit for sure. And then after that, we looked at how you could create lessons quickly and differentiate things on the fly, where we looked at Curipod. So Curipod can design a lesson and presentation for you. You can see here that it's essentially created this template. And all I typed into Curipod AI was create a past simple lesson through the context of food. And it gives you a nice justification of what it's done and why. So another potential option that you could use. We've got an interesting discussion unfolding in the chat with creativity, which is great. We'll be looking a little bit about creativity later down the line for sure. Is it creativity or is it mimicry? I firmly fall down on the side of mimicry, but I seem to be using creativity as a synonym. So apologies for that. Well done for picking it up and discussing it in the chat. All ideas are welcome for sure. So these are just two tools that we can get things started with. Wayground and Curipod. Both are free to a point as well, which is nice. And then we discussed how we need to be approvers in this new AI age. Now, AI is still, I think, even though it's been 6 months and everything seems to have changed in 6 months with AI, it's still in its infancy and it's been trained, but it can't think critically. And that's what you do. You are the teachers, you know your students, you know the restrictions you have in your classroom. And you are the ones who need to approve what's happening. So this is where you come in. It does a lot of the heavy lifting, but it can never replace your kind of finishing touch, your connection to your students, and your academic knowledge that you've all trained so hard to acquire. So we're now looking at being approvers rather than planners. So we are almost managing this AI kind of producer, as it were. Then afterwards, we went on to discuss why we would use AI in the classroom. And we discussed how it, of course, boosts engagement. It helps to personalize your learning experience. But in doing so, also boosting engagement. It allows students to develop critical thinking skills according to the technology. Of course, if a student is ushered away from using this type of technology when in school. They don't kind of develop the critical thinking skills to use it. So they may overuse it in the future or may not be able to critically evaluate what it's producing in the future. Students are going to use it anyway, whether we like it or not. These chatbots are free for the wallet, but not free for the environment, I would always say. So if they're free for the wallet and students have a phone, they're going to put through these searches no matter what. So we, as educators, need to be ready to be able to show them best practice and show them the way, like we would in any other thing we're covering in the class. And yes, Red Nalaveds, absolutely, AI is now difficult to avoid. Yes, it's everywhere, for sure. And students expect it now. They really do. AI is considered the cutting edge of technology now. Whether we agree that that's the case or not, students want it somewhere in their syllabuses. They want it in their classrooms or for their homework, whatever. And our job is to embrace that and to mold it into something that we are proud to produce as educators. And yes, it's growing. Language teacher motivation, it is growing everywhere. Yes, Daniela, it is growing everywhere. And then we talked a little bit about managing AI and its use. So making sure we're transparent and we don't shy away from it. You may have noticed that some of my slides have included the ChatGPT kind of hyphens, and it's included the ChatGPT bolding of important phrases because I'm very open that this is about AI. I've used AI to research what I'm doing, and I've been the approver, not the generator. And it encourages them to be transparent with you. So maybe I'm a bit optimistic here, but I like to think that if we're transparent with our students, they'll come clean if they've cheated by using ChatGPT, rather than us reading a perfect robotic essay about something. So if we're open about it, hopefully they'll be open about it too. Now, of course, discussing the ethics, bias, and the reliability of it is very important too. That is part of your role as educators, sharing the other side of the coin, as it were. Sure, it's free to use, but is it really free to use? And an idea that we came up with together last session was that you could potentially use a poster, contract, or display school policy in your classroom so that they understand that this is an important part of your education, and they can see the do's and the don'ts. So everything is written, you can reflect on things together, you can alter the policy if you wish, and of course, to demonstrate the good and the bad uses of it is always a good 5 to 10 minutes to take out of your lesson. Now, as if by magic, it's been 20 minutes, and I've now summarized what we looked at last session. So those of you that have returned and are eager for new things to discuss, well, you're in the right place. And hopefully everyone else whose first time it is with me talking about AI, hopefully we are all now on the same page and we can move on and look at some things together. Now, I'm going to show, this is a very, very teachery moment for me. I'm going to show you a video about AI. It's only going to be about 2 minutes. Now, what I'd like you to do is, while you're watching it, just type 1 or 2 words in the Zoom chat to represent your thoughts on this video. And like every good teacher, I know that PowerPoint will mean that the adverts play. So there we go. So watch the video. 1 or 2 words for me, please. What are your thoughts on this as educators?
This is about to become the UK's first teacherless classroom, where 20 GCSE students will spend the year being taught by artificial intelligence instead of human teachers.
What we're attempting to do is to use AI in key subjects at GCSE. The three sciences, maths, and English, and computer science, and possibly geography.
The platforms learn what each student excels in and what they need more help with, and then it adapts their lessons for the term. Strong topics are moved to the end of term so they can be revised, while weak topics will be tackled more immediately. And each student's lesson plan is bespoke to them. GCSE students have been testing out the new tech.
Teachers don't know exactly precisely what I'm unable and able to do, where the AI can just figure out just by a few questions what I'm weak in and what are my strong points, and it helps me develop into a much smarter student.
Although there won't be teachers in the classroom, there will be 3 learning coaches to help with behaviour and softer subjects that AI might struggle with.
They're not being taught subjects by the learning coaches, but we are covering soft skills like public speaking, debate, and the really important personal aspects of a person that you really want to bring out and develop, and turning young people into young adults.
Some people disagree and say removing teachers from the equation will harm students in the long run. Chris McGovern was a head teacher and an educational advisor to Number 10. Now he campaigns against ideas like this.
Children will lose a great deal from that AI experience. They need to have teachers, they need to interact with other children, and that's fundamental. The problem with the AI and the computer screen is that it is a machine and it's inert. So you're straight away dehumanizing the process of learning. It's a soulless, bleak future if it's going to be along the AI path only.
Last year, the Department for Education said teachers are irreplaceable, and AI could never be a substitute for teachers' professional judgment and the personal relationship they have with their pupils. This school seems to disagree.
There are many excellent teachers out there, and we have many here at the college, but we're all fallible. If you
Yes. So what are our thoughts? I think I was reading through all of our comments there, and I think we are largely on the same page. Replaces human contact. There's a lot of social skills. You've got me worried. Evelyn, don't worry. It's to strike up interest like you would in your classrooms. I'm here to concern, engage, and then take you the other way. No interaction. I mean, for me, what summed things up best was our hero in the final interview that called it a bleak, soulless future, you know. And I do think that a lot of what you've mentioned in there, the lack of social skills, the lack of teacher guidance, the lack of humanity in what was going on there, is something that people genuinely fear. Now, as we saw with the government comment on how teachers are still integral to the classroom for all sorts of reasons that AI can't meet, and as what we looked at from your comments, which are all very detailed and very clear, I need somebody with a human touch by the Spice Girls. Absolutely. We're going to look a little bit about how we can overcome this and use AI to our benefit rather than to our detriment. Now, this, of course, is a very extreme case. Really very extreme case. I'm not sure which school in the UK is doing this, but there's outcry in the comments as well, if you want to read those. But let's go back to adding value, because that's what we want to do. We're not replacing anything. We are adding value. Now, first thing that we're looking at is we are going to be looking at our personalized grammar and vocabulary practice. So looking at AI to create custom exercises based on your students' level and their mistakes. So we are using AI and taking AI to help build the foundations of our classroom so that we are that 20% of our approving, and then 80% we let AI do the legwork. Remember, it could never replace your human touch. Bracket, I think it was a Britney Spears quote, Spice Girls quote that somebody brought in. So let's have a look at how we could do that very quickly by dissecting this video. This scary, scary video. Now, here we have ChatGPT, which I'm sure everybody is relatively familiar with now. And for legal reasons, there are other chatbots that you can use. For this one, I'm just going to do ChatGPT because it's on everybody's phones at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leverage this video that has got me thoroughly scared, and I'm going to turn it into a resource for my students that I will teach from. So I'd like it to create a grammar activity, cover, fill in the blanks activity, use the video as context. Paste, and then go. And then what we're going to let it do is we're going to let it take that very scary video that people were replacing teachers' jobs, which will never happen and should never happen. And we've made it create some grammar activities here. Okay, so the school, present simple, uses artificial intelligence to help its students learn. Now, I appreciate that video is scary, and we are all concerned about the kind of ominous shadow of AI over us. But let's think about how we can leverage it to benefit us. That took me a couple of seconds and would have ended up with you pausing and playing for probably around 10 to 20 minutes. It would have taken me that amount of time to create without the help for that. Okay. Marvelous. Now, one thing I've mentioned here, Eman, send this prompt here, please. Really nice use of prompt first. So prompts I'm terrible with, as you can see, but it still managed to create what I wanted it to use. So of course, a prompt is something you put into AI to generate a result. I'm no good with prompts. I'm terrible with it, but it got what I meant anyway. Now, the next thing that we can use it for to leverage this mean machine, and I've seen people using words machines in the chat, so thank you for that. These mean machines is conversation practice for your students. So what was once impossible for your students to do, so practice their speaking at home with live feedback, is now something that they are able to do. Now, of course, this will take some learner training, but allow me to demonstrate. Debate me on the role of teachers in the classroom.
Absolutely, I'd love to. So on one side, you could argue that teachers are irreplaceable because they provide emotional support, adapt lessons to students' needs, and foster critical thinking.
Thank you. I want to practice my English.
Of course.
Now I think teachers out classroom bad. It's scary. You?
Ah, I see what you're saying. So you mean that you feel teachers are really important because without them, the classroom might feel scary or uncertain, right? If you'd like, I can help you rephrase it or practice more.
Thank you. Can you make that easier?
Of course. You could say something like, I think teachers are very important because without them, the classroom can feel scary or confusing. Does that sound easier?
Yes, correct my English.
Of course. So instead of saying, I think teachers out classroom bad, you can say, I think teachers are very important because without them, the classroom feels scary. Let me know if you'd like to practice more or if you have other sentences.
Now, this is, of course, something that you may want to demonstrate to your students before you use it, because they may not initially think that they should ask it for feedback on their speaking, and they may kind of fossilize errors if they don't know that they should be asking for constant feedback. But it is a great tool just so that they can, have a back and forth with something. And of course, you still want them to interact with each other outside of the classroom. So group projects would never be replaced by this. but it's a nice alternative that you could use. And generally speaking, because you're not, the way that I've used it is not something that's asking for feedback on context, it's asking for feedback on language. So the feedback it gives should be neutral. It gives me simple corrections. So I'm not asking it for feedback on my opinions, which is where things like hallucinations can happen, where ChatGPT can essentially give somebody the wrong idea and keep kind of giving somebody that wrong idea, which is which is a hallucination. So training your learners to use it to deconstruct language specifically is a great thing in my eyes. Now, of course, you may disagree. There are so many different ways to use this. For me, this is one of those kind of valuable things I like to use AI for. Now let's keeping on. Now, of course, we've got our writing feedback. Yes, every teacher's favorite thing, marking essays. Not so much. So, of course, you can use it to help you to give feedback. And it's also very useful to help justify some feedback. Now, a practical use would be for a student to submit a paragraph and for the student to maybe give it some prompts on this. So let's see this in action too. So here we have an IELTS band 5.5. Okay. And we notice that it uses sentence connectors. And the suggestion, which is human-led, is to order some of the phrasing. So this is a band 5.5 IELTS part 2 essay. Make it, let's go 6.5. Let's be realistic. Let's not go too crazy. Okay, so we see that we've kept the general ideas, but it's increased some of the grammar. Explain why this is better. There we are. Okay, so we've got things like things were too short and repetitive, and it gives you some ideas on what that is. Each paragraph only makes one point in the new one, and all the examples are connected to that point. Okay. So again, something that you can use. It also breaks it down into the IELTS categories for you to use. And it gives a quick summary, which is very mechanical. It's very brutal. Originally, many errors, which is probably something you should raise with your students to say, don't worry too much about when it is a little less human. All right. And of course, to differentiate reading. Now, you've seen me to alter that piece of writing to be quote unquote IELTS 6.5. Now you can do the same thing with a piece of reading where you copy and paste it, and you can tell it, hey, let's make this this piece of reading suitable for a student studying at A2 level. Dr. Nagwa, you can also request AI to create a rubric, which is fantastic. Yes, you can. But of course, you want to be the approver in all these situations. Now, a couple of extra tools that you can use before we start looking into the ethical impacts. We have Tools EDU and we have Magic School. Linda, it's okay for you to correct writing using AI. Now, that's school dependent and dependent on your policy, of course. Now, in terms of guidance, it should always be proofread by yourself. You still need to be involved in everything that happens with your students, I would say. But good question. A touchy one. AI is a touchy subject, and it will continue to be. So this is why I like doing these talks. So we have Tools EDU, create worksheets. Okay. Let's say create a crossword for animal vocabulary. Yes, yes. Let's make it nice and easy because it's late in the day in the UK. It's nearly 5 o'clock. And then we'll generate it. So Tools EDU is free. You can see we have daily generation limits. So daily 0 out of 3, weekly 0 out of 10 here. Okay, we're just waiting for that to go. It was faster when I used it yesterday. See, I had holiday present perfect 9 days ago, and I said past simple verbs 9 days ago as well. Eman, are these tools accurate? That's an interesting question. Let's have a look. So you got questions. Large mammal with a long trunk. Elephant. Yes, that's accurate. Mercifully. Okay. And then I suppose if we download our PDF, we've got the questions here. There we go. And we can play a little crossword game. There we are. Now, we're not going to play it. Don't join. Don't join. We don't have the time, I'm afraid. I'm going to show you more tools. These are things for you to sample with your students to see if you can get them on board get them on board in the classroom. You can start to expose them to AI in a measured way, and of course, save yourself a bit of time. And then the last one that I want to show you is Magic School. Now you can see here that I have 21 days left in my free trial. So this is not a free resource forever. It's only a free resource for 1 month. So bear that in mind before you get too you get too into it, because it is something that you can do pretty much anything with. It's got, image generations, it's got rubric generator, we've got YouTube video questions, all these kind of things. Everything that another chatbot can do, but tailored for a teacher's day-to-day, essentially. Text summary, all sorts of bits and bobs. Make it relevant. What a time saver that could be. Now, I've had a go at a couple of these tools and they've been very valuable. I would encourage you to have a little play around and see if it works for you. One thing that I did quite like is this create custom tool, where you could essentially take their writing feedback tool and you could customize it for the level. You can customize it for a specific bit of rubric, specific instructions for it as well. So you can change these things to match your students' needs. Now, somebody's asked, is this for English only? I've only used it for English. So I'm not entirely sure, but I would recommend giving it a go nonetheless. I'm sure that there's some sort of translation function on there. Okay. Now, a quick series of comments from Magic School here. And this rings true, I think, for what we should be doing as kind of like a basic rule set. So make sure that we're checking for any biases or accuracy errors. So we are essentially the block between this and our students. We are the ones that should be filtering out things, and we should be still be tailoring things to our students' needs. So making sure that we are checking for any incorrect information, as a lot of you said earlier, is really important. Now use I mentioned the 80-20 rule earlier. 80-20, 80% AI does the draft, 20% you finalize it. Think about it when you were either at university or doing your qualifications. The bulk of your time was doing the draft, and the final bit was you doing the final touches, the 20%. Now the draft is handled by something else. And trust your judgment. It's a starting point, it's not the solution. So take that YouTube video from Sky News. See, AI is not the solution. You are the solution. So always adhere to your school's guidelines. Make sure you know about your school's policies and look into policy if you need to. And of course, protect student privacy. Now, this is something that you should be looking into with whatever tool that you use. Everything that your students feed in will be a part of the AI. It learns from input. So making sure that they're not inputting any personal information, or they know when to stop using AI, is really important. Which brings us to our ethical considerations. Now we've got a mere 8 minutes left, which is just about enough time for a couple of quiz questions. So, question 1. Ethical considerations. AI-powered educational platforms often collect data about students' learning behavior. What is the main ethical concern regarding this? A, B, C, or D? Tell us. Got a lot of B's coming in. A lot of B's. Let's see. I agree. Yes. All of these. All of these. This B and C are both concerning to me. But in terms of the main ethical concern, yes, I'd say B. But C is also concerning. And a lot of you raised this earlier. You can't monitor what feedback it's giving. So yes, absolutely. So maybe encouraging students to use it in the classroom so you can see the feedback might be a good approach. We'll just do a second one before I go through some other ethical concerns and we wrap things up. The environmental impact of AI. So something that was spoken about early on, and now it's become so powerful and so mainstream, we've all of a sudden forgotten about it. So what ethical concern does this raise? That running large AI systems can require significant computer power. So we've got B's and C's, and we've got C's and D's. These are all kind of concerns, you're right. So the main thing is that high energy usage does certainly contribute to environmental harm. Sure, the fact that it requires internet does limit the number of schools that AI can be used in the wider world. Absolutely, that is something to take into consideration, and is a problem for educational inequality, which we know is sizable around the world. So yes, that's a problem, and of course, AI tools will automatically reduce electricity use. I'm not entirely sure if that's true. I'm not an expert on electricity use in worldwide classrooms, unfortunately. However much I'd love to be. So we'll skip through this and just go through a couple of things to note. So when you do choose to use AI, think about the ethics of it. Do we really need to AI, hello, my name? Do we really need to say hello to AI? Do we really need to say thank you? Because these little things do contribute to our greenhouse gas emissions. And I'm sure you've seen that students tend to AI everything now without the thought of the environmental impact that it's causing, because it's not reducing the battery on their phone much, so they don't think about it as an issue. But of course, it is using tons of energy elsewhere. Things that you are doing in class, are they going to contain personal themes? Are they about developing somebody socially? If so, do we really want AI to be involved in this and to be collecting data on this? And on that note, on psychological effects. Now, think about this statistic and how terrifying this is. 13% of US youth aged 12 to 21 have used AI chatbots for mental health advice. Is this really something we should be promoting? And is this something that we should be monitoring? Is this something that could be promoted indirectly in our classrooms? You see, I forgot to delete the emoji there. Our economic inequality as well, as we mentioned earlier on. So AI could affect 40% of jobs globally, but of course, not everybody can use AI in the classroom. And lastly, balance in decision making. So of course, there's always going to be bias. There is a biased amount of academic research into different areas, which means that AI will pick up on that and will favor that research, even if it's just something that's been researched a lot because it's quite profitable. I'm not going to speak about which industry that may be in, but if it's profitable, it tends to be research, and there tends to be research supporting stuff, which may lead to bias and unfairness in decision making. So always monitor that, please. Of course, I can't tell you what to do, but please do that. And I told you at the start of this presentation that I would leave you with an action plan, because this is all so terribly overwhelming. And John, why have you done this to me? I don't have time to explore all AI tools. Well, just try an AI tool at some point this week or next week. Give it a go if you've never done it before. If you're comfortable with it and you understand the impact it's going to have on your students, why not try out creating an AI policy with your class? Give them a bit of free rein, have a bit of fun with it, and show them that you are contributing to the modern vision of the classroom that I'm sure that they all have. And of course, don't be afraid to share ideas with your colleagues. Your colleagues, I'm sure you share this sentiment with me, are your most important resource. So share ideas with them. Let them laugh at you for saying hello to a chatbot. Maybe you could then share this wonderful thing that chatbot has created for you, and show them talk to them about those kind of ethical concerns that we discussed as well, so that we're all, sharing ideas together, and reaching for better classrooms for the future. And I believe that is it from me. Thank you very much, everybody, for bearing with me and watching my terrible prompts go into ChatGPT. I'm sure that was toe curling for those of you who are more proficient with AI than me. But it's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope that even one ethical concern will be in your mind when you use AI, or one tool will save you 20 minutes one week. It's been an absolute pleasure. So let me hand you back over to my wonderful team, who are going to talk you through a couple of EF things.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. It was honestly amazing. It's always so inspiring and hands-on, and we had a full house of 500 people joining today. So really, thank you, and thank you everyone for joining. If you can move to the next slide, I will just, before sharing the quiz in the chat for the teacher to answer, I just want to go through some of the ways you can collaborate with us as a teacher. You can test your student for free with our EF set, where each student will get an official certificate and the school will get also a detailed report. You can also bring your classroom to the Word, and EF will manage the planning, organizing the trip, and you can just go for free if you bring at least 17 students with you, and you can keep inspiring them through cultural immersion. And finally, you can boost your teaching with EF Teach trainings, preschool visit, and ready-to-use class materials that you can find on the Teacher Zone. If you have any question, you can contact us through the QR code. And next, we would like to also know from you how we can make our platform a better place for you as a teacher. Your feedback will help us improve in terms of resources and support for you. So if you scan this QR code, you can give us your ideas and feedback. And finally, as a last reminder, I will be sharing now the quiz link in the chat. And in order to get your certificate, you will have to attend or watch the recordings of these webinars and complete these quizzes at the end of each session. You can follow us on Instagram with a QR code. And yes, I will be sharing now the quiz link. Tomorrow, you will get an email with the recording of this session, as well as the quiz. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you next week, next Wednesday, for the following webinar.